Who the hell packs perfume for a funeral? That's the first thought I had when I saw the bottle in her suitcase. This sleek little black glass thing with a gold cap, buried under 2 pairs of jeans and a conservative dress I'd never seen her wear before. Bergamot and vanilla. The kind of scent you wear when you want someone to remember you later, not when you're grieving. I stood there, suitcase half open, tie still hanging around my neck, heart in my throat, wondering if I was about to go insane over cologne. It wasn't even her side of the family. It was my uncle who had passed. She barely knew him, but she insisted on coming with me to the service 3 states away, said it was the right thing to do. I remember thinking that was sweet. Loving, even. Now I know better. She wasn't there for me. The funeral was on a Sunday. I remember that clearly, because the church bells rang 13 times before the service started. I'm not superstitious, but even the priest looked up like something wasn't right. And then there was him. I didn't know his name at first, just that he was sitting 3 pews behind us, alone, wearing a navy suit with no tie and sunglasses indoors. I remember thinking he looked more like a movie agent than someone mourning the dead. But she knew him. She definitely knew him. I caught it, that flicker. That moment her eyes darted back too fast, like a reflex. Like her brain screamed, "Don't look," but her body didn't listen. And when she saw that I noticed, she leaned her head on my shoulder. Too quick. Too soft. Like a magician guiding your attention away. I wanted to believe it was nothing. That night, at the tiny motel just off the highway, I asked her, calmly, quietly, "Do you know that guy from the funeral?" She was brushing her teeth. She didn't even flinch. "What guy?" I described him. Her eyes narrowed just enough to betray her. "Oh, I think he used to work with Maris." That's her sister. The go-to scapegoat for all unexplainable male presences in her life. "Huh," I said. "What's his name?" "I don't remember. Something with AD. You don't forget a man who wears sunglasses in a church. You don't forget his name." But I let it go. Until the next night. That was when I caught her texting him on her iPad. The one she thought I never touched. Just one line, sitting there in the Messages app. "I can still smell you." I sat down. My knees just gave out. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't throw the iPad. I just stared at it. Because the worst part wasn't that she texted it. The worst part was that she'd packed perfume. I didn't say anything that night. I didn't storm into the bathroom. I didn't confront her with the iPad in my hand like some righteous detective in a crime show. I just closed the cover, placed it gently back where I found it, and climbed into the motel bed next to her. She was already half asleep, breathing slow, hair fanned out over the pillow like nothing had happened. Like the woman beside me wasn't texting another man about his scent while pretending to mourn my dead uncle. I lay there, eyes open, staring at the ceiling until morning. Around 3 a.m., I got up and went to the bathroom. I didn't turn the light on, just stood in front of the mirror in the dark, letting the dim orange motel sign from outside bleed in through the frosted glass. I looked at myself and whispered something I didn't expect to say. Is this really happening? I needed to hear it out loud. Needed to test if it sounded as pathetic as it felt. Spoiler, it did. I wanted to believe there was a logical explanation. That the message was a mistake. That it wasn't about him. Maybe she bought the same cologne for her dad once and meant to text her sister. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe, God, maybe anything but what it actually was. But I couldn't lie to myself anymore. Not after the perfume. Not after the look. Not after the way her fingers moved too quickly when I walked back into the room earlier and she just happened to be playing Sudoku at midnight. Who plays Sudoku in full makeup on a motel bed during a funeral weekend? By the time we checked out the next morning, I was already in investigative mode. She asked if I wanted to stop for breakfast on the way out. I said no. She asked why I was so quiet. I said I was just tired. She asked if I wanted her to drive. I said no again, because I didn't want her near my phone charger. Her phone battery was always dying, and she always used my cable. Not this time. That iPad was still signed into her Apple account. That meant her texts were syncing across devices. I just had to wait. Halfway through New Hampshire, I pulled off the highway and told her I had to pee. We stopped at a gas station, and when she went inside to buy a Diet Snapple, I opened the iPad again. There were more messages. This time, they were using fake names. She was saved in his phone as Daisy. He was Marble. And under the contact photo, a random stock photo of a vintage lamp. Like they were trying to be subtle. But I saw it. I read every message. Every emoji. Every disgusting little memory they'd been collecting behind my back like stray coins in a jar. Daisy, you smelled like firewood and cinnamon. I dreamt of it. Marble, you're the only thing I've ever dreamed of that's real. Daisy, Soren has no idea. It's almost fun how easy it is. Marble, he doesn't see you like I do. He never has. That last one broke me. Because he was right. I didn't see her like he did. I saw her as my partner. My teammate. The woman I built boring little routines with. I didn't see her as a secret. A thrill. A stolen thing. I saw her as mine. In the quiet, domestic, trustworthy way. And apparently, that made me blind. She came back to the car smiling, holding her Snapple in one hand and a bag of trail mix in the other. Still tired? She asked. I just nodded. If she noticed I had tears in my eyes, she didn't say a word. Back home, things were different. It wasn't dramatic, not at first. No fights. No accusations. No screaming. It was worse than that. It was quiet. The kind of quiet that feels like someone's holding a gun behind their back, but smiling at you across the kitchen table. I moved differently. She moved the same. That was what really disturbed me. She cooked dinner like usual. Scrolled her phone while watching trashy reality TV. Laughed at the same TikToks she always did. I kept waiting for her to show something. Guilt, hesitation, a flinch, but she didn't. She was either a sociopath or a world-class actress. That's when I started tracking patterns. Every time she left the room with her phone. Every time she went for a walk after dinner. Every time her location mysteriously froze for 20 minutes and then caught up. I didn't say anything. I just wrote it all down. Notes. Timestamps. Like I was prepping a court case. Then came the moment that cracked everything wide open. One evening, she was in the shower. I was supposed to be at the grocery store. She'd sent me out for almond milk and frozen mango. But I turned around 5 minutes after leaving because I'd forgotten my wallet. At least that's what I told her later. Truth is, I had the iPad hidden in the trunk of my car. Still logged in. Still syncing. And there was a new message. It was short. Marble, can I call you tonight? I miss your voice. She hadn't answered yet. The typing bubbles kept appearing and disappearing like she was thinking. I stared at it for maybe 10 seconds before the worst, most reckless idea I've ever had in my life took root. I picked up my phone. I copied the number. I saved it. I opened a burner app I'd used once to prank my brother on April Fool's Day and punched it in. I waited for her to start shampooing. I could hear the water. The door was closed. Fan running. I called him. He picked up on the third ring. His voice was calm. Familiar. Like he wasn't nervous at all. Hey, he said softly, like they were already mid-conversation. I didn't speak. I just breathed. A slow inhale. A shaky exhale. Elira, still nothing from me. I know it's you, he said, with a little laugh. I can always tell. You breathe like you're trying not to get caught. I wanted to hang up. Every part of me screamed to just end it, pretend it didn't happen. But I couldn't. My voice came out hoarse and wrong. What do I always say before you fall asleep? I asked. There was a pause. Then, you say, close your eyes before I do. I want to remember you like this. He wasn't guessing. He knew. That was real. That was intimate. That was something I'd never heard in my life. And he said it like it belonged to them. That was the moment I knew I wasn't dealing with a fling. This wasn't flirtation. It wasn't an office mistake. It wasn't some emotional misstep she was ashamed of. This was a relationship. My wife had an entirely separate emotional life. One where I didn't exist. I hung up. I didn't even listen to what he said next. I don't know if he kept talking or figured it out. I just pressed end and stared at the floor like the answers were written in the hardwood grain. And then I heard the shower shut off. I barely made it out of the room before she came down the hallway in a towel, humming something under her breath, hair wet, skin flushed pink. I watched her from the kitchen as she walked into the bedroom and closed the door behind her. And I remember thinking something so ridiculous, I actually said it out loud. She's not even sad. Not about the lie. Not about the funeral. Not even about the death of what we used to be. She was just fine. That's when I realized I wasn't in a marriage anymore. I was in a house with a stranger pretending to be my wife. I've heard people say that once you suspect someone's cheating, you've already lost. That the paranoia, the doubt, the not knowing, that's the actual infidelity. But those people have clearly never watched their wife sit in a parked car for 27 minutes doing nothing. Not talking. Not moving. Just waiting. That's what Elira did the following Thursday night. She said she had to run to Target. Needed razors and allergy meds. It was already dark out, and raining just enough to keep most people off the roads. I nodded, kissed her cheek like I always did, and then waited exactly 90 seconds before grabbing my keys and following her. I didn't even need to rush. She drove slow, relaxed, music on, hair tied up in a messy bun. Her, "I'm just running errands" look. But she never made it to Target. Instead, she pulled into the parking lot of a closed chiropractor's office about 8 blocks from our house. I parked half a block down, killed the lights, watched. She didn't get out of the car. She didn't text. She didn't even check her makeup. Just sat there, hands on the steering wheel, lights off, engine still running. 5 minutes passed, then 10, then 27. Then she pulled out, drove straight home. I got back 2 minutes after her. She was already in the kitchen, tossing a Target bag on the counter. Razors, allergy meds, and a candle. Receipt tucked neatly inside. Like she'd actually gone. Like the lie was complete. And that's when I realized something that made my skin go cold. She knew I followed her. She had to. Why else park somewhere so obvious, so close, so boring? Why else bring back a bag of the exact things she said she'd left to buy? She wanted me to see nothing. She wanted to prove that I was paranoid. Or, worse, she wanted to teach me a lesson. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake imagining her smirking in the dark, proud of herself for whatever game she thought she was winning. So I stepped it up. The next morning, I installed an old phone in the garage, one I hadn't used since 2019, still jailbroken. I synced her phone's iCloud to it using a saved password I once used to help her reset her Apple ID. She'd never changed it. She thought she was clever, but she underestimated the one thing I had left. Desperation. With that phone, I could see her real-time messages, her cloud backups, her locations. I know how creepy that sounds. I'm not proud of it, but I needed truth more than I needed to be decent. That night, the truth came. At exactly 11:14 p.m., a message came through, sent from her to him. "Daisy, did you like the little show tonight?" 2 minutes later, "Marble, watching you sit there doing nothing might be the hottest thing you've ever done." Daisy. He was behind me. I saw his car. Same hoodie, same turn signal. He thinks he's subtle. Marble, let him spiral. The longer he waits, the sicker it'll feel when he realizes. Daisy, I want him to choke on it. I dropped the phone. It slid off the workbench and hit the garage floor hard enough to crack the corner. I didn't even pick it up. I just leaned back against the wall and tried to catch my breath. This wasn't cheating. This was sport. This was something darker. Calculated. Predatory. She wasn't trying to hide anything anymore. She was inviting me into it, daring me to catch her, feeding on my suspicion like it turned her on. And him? He was right there with her, laughing, thriving, like my breakdown was part of their foreplay. I should have left right then. Should have walked upstairs, told her I knew everything, packed a bag, and vanished. But I didn't, because something deeper had taken over, something uglier than betrayal. I wanted to see how far she'd go, how far they'd go, and how long I could pretend not to notice. I didn't notice it at first. It was small, ordinary even, a silver pen, just a sleek metal pen resting on the edge of her nightstand. The kind of thing you'd pick up at a hotel conference or get as a weird birthday gift from an uncle who doesn't know you. But we don't use pens like that. We don't even write by hand in this house anymore. Everything's digital. Our bills, our notes, our grocery lists. Even our fridge has a touchscreen. I only noticed the pen because I knocked it over while reaching for her phone charger. I picked it up, twirled it. The clip was engraved. 2 initials, DEL. And my blood went cold. I know what you're thinking. Could be anything. Could be her coworker. Could be a giveaway from the dentist's office. Could be a brand. But I already knew who it belonged to. DEL was Daxon Levi, aka Marble. The man my wife was texting behind my back. The man who sent her messages like, "You breathe like you're trying not to get caught." The same man whose voice I had memorized from one single phone call. He hadn't just infiltrated our marriage. He'd left something here. On purpose. I turned the pen over in my hand for a long time, then placed it exactly where I'd found it. I didn't want her to know I'd seen it. I wanted to see what she'd do. If she'd move it. If she'd use it. If she'd realize I was watching now. I started watching everything. That week, I took 2 vacation days and didn't tell her. Pretended to go to work like normal. Packed a lunch, kissed her goodbye, and drove around the block. Then I parked and waited. Waited to see if she'd make a call. Leave the house. Slip up. She didn't. Not once. She cleaned. She answered emails. She watched a baking competition on Netflix. She did yoga in the living room. At one point, she cried. Just a little, but I couldn't tell if it was real or part of the performance. But the pen never moved. Not for 3 days. Then on the fourth night, I saw her write something with it. Just a short note on a sticky pad near the fridge. Nothing dramatic. Just a grocery reminder. Oat milk. Granola. Sea salt. It wasn't the message that mattered. It was the act of using it. That was her way of telling me, I know you saw it. She could have used any pen. But she didn't. She used his. And I lost it. Not visibly. I didn't yell or throw anything. But inside, something cracked for good. Because I realized she wasn't just carrying out an affair. She was marking territory. Leaving traces of him in our space, where I eat and sleep and dream. That night, I waited until she was in the shower. Then I went to her nightstand. Opened the top drawer. I don't know what I was expecting. A burner phone, maybe. A second key. A love letter folded in thirds. What I found instead. A single Polaroid photo. Just her. Standing on a balcony I didn't recognize. Wearing the green silk robe I'd never seen before. Hair loose. Eyes half-lidded. Smiling like she was in on a secret. And across the bottom, in ink. Only for Marble. My name is not Marble. I sat down on the floor right there, knees to my chest, picture in my hand, and tried not to fall apart. Because this wasn't a snapshot of lust. This was intimacy. This was ritual. This was intentional. Someone took that photo. Someone watched her smile like that, and clicked the shutter at the perfect second. And she kept it. In our house. When she came out of the shower, she saw me sitting there. She didn't ask what I was doing. She didn't look surprised. She walked right past me, towel around her waist, water dripping from her collarbone, and said, You know, you could have just asked me. I stared at her, stunned. Asked you what? She looked at me, dead in the eye. If I still love you. And then she walked out of the room. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there beside her, the air between us stale and heavy, my brain playing the same scene over and over, her in that photo, the smile, the robe, the ink across the bottom. Only for Marble. That phrase didn't just hurt. It undid something inside me. Like it had reached into the foundation of our marriage and snapped the support beam I didn't know was holding everything up. By sunrise, I had made a decision. I was done sneaking around. No more digital detective work. No more spying from the garage. I needed to face it. I needed to hear it from her mouth. I had to know what kind of monster I was actually living with. Or maybe, what kind of fool I'd become. She was making coffee when I came into the kitchen. Still in her pajamas. Calm. Casual. Like everything was normal. Like I hadn't found physical proof of her betrayal in the drawer next to her lip balm. I pulled out a chair and sat down across from her. She didn't even look up. You want tea or something? No, I said quietly. I want the truth. That got her attention. She set the mug down, turned slowly, leaned back against the counter, arms crossed. She studied me for a long time. No fear in her face. No guilt. Just the faintest twitch of a smirk forming at the corners of her mouth. Like she'd been waiting for this moment. Okay, she said. Ask. You're cheating on me, I said, trying to hold her gaze. With Daxon. Silence. Then, almost bored. And my throat tightened. I hadn't expected her to fold, but I also hadn't expected this openness. She looked at me like I was late to a meeting she scheduled weeks ago. How long? I asked. Long enough, she said. Before the funeral. Before the wedding. Before you started watching me like a stray dog you don't trust near your food. I gritted my teeth. And you don't care? She tilted her head. Do you? What the hell kind of question is that? The kind you never bothered to ask yourself? She said flatly. You've been done with me for years. You just never had the guts to leave. That's not true, I snapped. I gave you everything. You gave me silence, she interrupted, voice rising just slightly. You gave me routines. You gave me spreadsheets and bills and frozen peas and one-word texts. You stopped seeing me. He didn't. That hit harder than I wanted to admit. But I wasn't going to let her rewrite history. You could have talked to me, told me you weren't happy. You didn't have to crawl into bed with someone else. She laughed once, a sharp, joyless sound. Talk to you, she said. You would have pulled out a calendar and asked me to schedule the conversation. You think this is about sex, Soren? You think he's just better in bed? He listens to me. He looks at me like I'm still alive. I stood up. The room felt suddenly too small. My skin itched. My hands were shaking. So what now? I asked. You want a divorce? She didn't answer right away. Then she said something I still don't fully understand. No, she said. Not if you're willing to change the rules. I stared at her. What rules? She stepped closer, voice low, almost conspiratorial. We could keep this, she said. Keep us. But open it. No more secrets. No more guilt. I see him when I need to. You see whoever you want. We stop pretending this is something it isn't. We stop lying. And maybe, just maybe, we figure out if there's anything still worth saving between us and the mess. I felt like I'd been punched. Not because of what she was suggesting, but because of how rational she made it sound. Like this was a business merger. A restructured contract. Like our marriage was a project that needed scope adjustment, not a sacred vow that had been shattered. And what scared me most? A part of me considered it. Just for a second. Because I didn't want to lose. Because I didn't want to walk away with nothing. Because I didn't want him to win. But then I looked at her, really looked, and saw a stranger smiling through my wife's face. And I realized, I already had. I chose a diner. Not some sleek modern cafe or downtown wine bar. A proper old diner. Linoleum floors, cracked red booths. Waitresses who still called you Han and poured coffee whether you wanted it or not. The kind of place where no one looks twice at two men sitting across from each other with nothing but contempt between them. He came exactly on time. I hadn't told him it was me when I texted from a burner number. I pretended to be her. Said I needed to talk, needed it to be in person, needed to feel safe. I knew the language she used with him. I'd been reading it for weeks. It wasn't hard to mimic. And he came. He walked in wearing that same stupid navy coat from the funeral. Hair slicked back. Casual, confident. Like he owned the air in the room. His eyes scanned the booths, and when they landed on me, he didn't flinch. Didn't turn around. He just let out a short breath, like he was almost relieved. Then he walked over and sat down across from me. Didn't expect you, he said. Voice calm. Measured. I'm sure, I said, staring straight at him. There was a pause. The waitress came by. Asked if we needed menus. He smiled and said, just coffee. I nodded. I couldn't speak. He leaned back, studied me. Not aggressively. Not nervously either. Just observant. Like I was part of some long experiment he'd already run 100 simulations for. She didn't want this, he said finally. You should know that. I kept my hands under the table. They were shaking. No. She just wanted everything else. Daxon nodded slowly. Fair. Another pause. You know, he added. You really didn't have to drag this out. You already knew. You had all the pieces. Then why keep going? I asked. Why not just take her and be done with it? His smile was small. Tight. Because she's not something you take. She chooses. I hated how much that rattled me. Because deep down, I knew it was true. Elira didn't drift. She didn't get swept up. She decided. And she kept choosing him, even after she got caught. Even after I bled for her in silence. She told me everything, he said. After the first time you followed her. She called me laughing. Said she felt like she had a fan club. I looked away. I didn't come here to fight, I muttered. I came here to look you in the eye and figure out what kind of man lets this happen. What kind of man wants this? He didn't blink. And, you don't even love her, I said. You just love the idea of her being someone else's and still wanting you. He smirked. You think I care about labels like love? I watch her become more alive with me than she ever was with you. That's all I need. I almost lunged across the table. Not to punch him, I'm not that guy. But just to shake him. To break the cool off his face. To make him feel something. Instead, I reached into my pocket and slid something across the table. It was the pen. Silver. Clean. Engraved. DL. He picked it up. Looked at it for a second. Then laughed under his breath. She kept it, he asked. I didn't answer. You know what that means, right? I nodded. It means you left a mark. He leaned forward, voice quieter now. No, Soren. It means you're the one who let me in. I swallowed the lump in my throat. She chose you, I said. But I didn't give her a reason not to. His expression changed. Not pity. Not triumph. Something almost neutral. Like the last page of a book you already guessed the ending of. I guess that's the only thing we agree on, he said. Then he stood up, left a $5 bill on the table for the untouched coffee, buttoned his coat, and walked out. I sat there for another 20 minutes. Not thinking. Not planning. Just sitting. In a booth. In a diner. Like the final character in a scene everyone else had already left. And that's when I realized it wasn't about her anymore. It was about what I'd become while trying to hold on to someone who'd already let go. 3 weeks after the diner, I came home to find her suitcase in the hallway. Not packed, just open, like she was trying to decide whether to leave or hoping I'd tell her not to. A silent dare sitting between us and every word we hadn't said. She was in the kitchen, sipping tea, staring out the window like someone who was pretending to enjoy the quiet, but was secretly counting how long it would last. She didn't flinch when I came in, didn't speak. So I did. I met him, I said. You probably figured that out by now. She didn't react. I stepped closer, not to fight, not to provoke, just to finally tell the truth, not just mine, but ours. I didn't follow you because I didn't trust you. I followed you because I couldn't stand how much I still wanted to. I wanted to believe that some part of this could still be real, even after everything. That got her. She turned, eyes softer than I'd seen in weeks. I sat down. I don't hate you, I said. I hate who I became trying to keep you. A long pause. Then she asked, so what do we do now? And for once, I had an answer. We let go, I said. We stopped playing tug of war over something that already snapped. And maybe, just maybe, we figure out who we are again. Alone. Not in opposition. Not in denial. Just free. She stared at me. A little confused. A little sad. But mostly, I think, relieved. Are you sure? She asked. After everything? I'm not sure of anything, I said. But I know staying like this will kill us both. And I don't want to waste another year trying to win back a version of you that doesn't exist anymore. She looked down. Then she did something I'll never forget. She got up, went to the hallway, zipped the suitcase shut, and left it there. She didn't leave that night. But she didn't stay forever either. We spent 2 more weeks in that house. Eating quietly. Sleeping separately. Talking sometimes. About old movies, the weather, stupid memories that didn't hurt yet. And one morning, I woke up and the suitcase was gone. No note. No drama. Just gone. The silence that followed wasn't heavy anymore. It felt clean. Like air after a storm. I redecorated slowly. Took down photos. Packed away dishes we bought together. Got rid of the green robe, the one I'd found in the laundry basket weeks ago, folded like it belonged there. But I kept one thing. An empty picture frame. I hung it by the hallway. Not to forget her, but to remind myself that I don't need to fill every space with something. Some things are better left open. For new beginnings. For better endings. It's been 5 months now. I joined a gym. Started therapy. Got a cat named Cosmo too. He's an idiot, but he makes me laugh. I don't check her socials. I don't stalk her texts. I don't replay what went wrong every night in my head. Some scars don't go away, but they fade. I still think about her sometimes. Not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Because losing her taught me how to finally come home. To myself.